Hello BookTube and welcome to Weekly Reads. I've had a pretty mixed reading week. So I started the week finishing up SPQR by Mary Beard. This is a history of ancient Rome up to Caracalla's gifting of Roman citizenship to all free residents in the empire. And I mentioned last week that I was having some issues with the book, that I liked it, but I didn't love it. That there's something off about the book, or off-putting about the book. And that feeling persisted as I finished the book and has sort of plagued me since I've read it. And I think, like I said last week, there's a lack of depth, a lack of detail, particularly in the periods of Roman history before Cicero's denunciation of Catiline and in the Rome after Augustus. That Beard isn't as invested, maybe, as engaged. Or, I mean, it's like the period between Cicero's denunciation of Catiline and the death of Augustus is the strongest, the most sort of detailed and recurring part of this history. But everything before and after, it's a lot sketchier. And I think she also doesn't necessarily really explicate the Roman Empire, like how Rome gained its empire, and how the city Rome sort of interacted with, and the empire interacted with the city. So I thought those were definite weaknesses. And again, she has this tendency to hint at revision or a reevaluation of certain bits of Roman history, only to walk back and say, well, let's assume the usually salacious received historical, or the received tradition is accurate. And that always really sort of made me raise an eyebrow. And finally, there's a tangent chapter where she talks about, she really focuses on the culture of Rome outside of the political and military history, which, as a lot of these sort of insert chapters or tangent chapters where the narrative flow is sort of broken and a quick, what was life like for everybody else? The 99.99999, you get the idea, percent. And those are always clunky. So anyway, but on the whole, I did really enjoy the book, or liked it well enough. And I do want to read more Roman history. Even though Rome is not necessarily my favorite subject. I'm much more partial to the Hellenistic kingdoms and pre-Roman history, I guess, or pre-Roman Empire. Anyway, so after finishing SPQR, I started, or I had pretty much half of Saturday left to read. And I decided before Nonfiction November started to finish off all of the manga I had in my Kindle Unlimited sort of library. You basically can have like 10 books out at a time. And so, excepting for the first volume of Attack on Titan, which I don't know if I really want to read. I read it years ago and I really didn't like it. So I decided to read a bit more of Seven Deadly Sins and Fairy Tale. it was a volume of Seven Deadly Sins, and then a volume of Fairy Tale, Seven Deadly Sins, and then 2 Fairy Tale, because I had 2 of Seven Deadly Sins to read and 3 of Fairy Tale. So I read volumes 4 and 5 of Seven Deadly Sins, and I quite enjoyed them. I mean, it's an exciting, enjoyable read. There are a few issues I'm starting to detect, namely the handling of the Holy Knights and the interactions between Elizabeth and her sister, when the sister who joins the Holy Knights sort of captures her. So in these volumes, the conflict between Ban and King is resolved, and King joins the other members of the Seven Deadly Sins. So 4 down, 3 to go. And they continue to travel across the kingdom and the borderlands to try to find the other 3, as well as their missing magical weapons. And it ends with a tournament in the volume 5, and it was quite interesting and entertaining. I mean, I did have an issue with the interactions between Elizabeth and her sister, particularly where I think Elizabeth's failure to really highlight the fact that the Holy Knights are just the worst. I mean, admittedly, in future volumes, they will, for the most part, become more allies to the, or more sympathetic. But I mean, at this point, they are the absolute worst. I mean, just some of the crap they pull, it's like, come on. Yeah, you have no legs to stand on. But anyway, so I enjoyed it. And then I read volumes 6, 7, and 8 of Fairy Tale. And these volumes, it wraps, so in volume 6, the Galuna Island arc is wrapped up. I quite like the fight between Gray and Leon, particularly how Gray's victory is sort of, you can see how it worked, in that it was foreshadowed. And I also quite liked how the conclusion of the Galuna Island arc, while anticlimactic, definitely, is very thematically appropriate. And I think, yeah, the thematics, I think, kind of sort of trump the excitement. And then from volume 6, and then 7 and 8, Fairy Tale enters the Phantom Lord arc, in which Phantom Lord, a rival guild to Fairy Tale, is contracted by Lucy's father to bring her home. Lucy is revealed to be a very wealthy runaway debutante. And so Phantom Lord attacks, Fairy Tale retaliates, and sort of there's a fight between the 2 guilds. Most of the Phantom Lord really don't play much of a role. The Guildmaster Jose is a creep, and under him there's Gajil Red Fox, who's a Dragon Slayer, much like Natsu, except he's an Iron Dragon Slayer. And then there's the Element of 4, Arya, who uses wind magic, Sol, who uses earth magic, and Totamaro, who uses fire magic, and none of them really play much of a role after this arc. And then Juvia, who is, she controls water, and she, as well as Gajil, eventually joins Fairy Tale, her in the next major arc, and then him a little bit later. And my one criticism of this arc is where Gray's fight with Juvia, in which she sort of is immediately smitten with Gray, and he just doesn't get it, even though he's old enough, he's in his late teens, he should be recognizing, and it's a little maybe too juvenilized, I think, or a little too sort of, I don't know. But that kind of always sort of bugged me that he's like doesn't quite recognize it. Anyway, so I quite enjoyed all three fairy tale volumes, and again, I'm seriously contemplating trying to restart my manga collection. And I've been saying that for months now, and I have yet to do so. But I think I will pretty soon. My plan. Anyway, so after having a rather glorious few hours reading manga, on Sunday I started a new book for Nonfiction November, and that is The Life and Death of Ancient Cities by Greg Woolf. I have to say, I am quite disappointed in this book. So, The Life and Death of Ancient Cities is a history that incorporates multiple disciplines. It's a very interdisciplinary work, including evolutionary anthropology, archaeology, ecology, biology, psychology, the whole nine yards. And it looks sort of at human urbanism, the human tendency to create urban spaces. And I think had the book really been that, focusing on human urbanism throughout the world, I think the book would have been probably a bit stronger than what the book ends up being, which is really tunneling the focus to the ancient Mediterranean, and really sort of becoming more or less a classical history, because I mean the focus is very much on Rome and Greece and Rome, or the city-states of Greece and Rome, and I really didn't quite get into this book. But, and it's a bit disorganized too, I think. But I'm quite unsatisfied with this reading, and I'm not finished with this book. I will be coming back to The Life and Death of Ancient Cities. Maybe not next year, but probably the following year. I hope to have another go at this book. Hopefully. And then we will see whether or not my opinions stay the same or change. Hopefully they change, because it is a very interesting subject. So the next book I read, I started on The Beauty and the Terror by Fletcher. So this book is focused on the Italian wars from 1494 to the 1530s, 1540s. And it intersperses discussions of Italian culture, history, art, literature throughout the period. And this book is glorious. It is just glorious. Even the tangential chapters, which I think Fletcher does more skillfully weave into the larger narrative than, say, Mary Beard does, or a few other books I've read recently, which don't quite get it quite so well done. Anyway, I'm really loving this book. I have about less than 100 pages to go, so I'll finish the book tomorrow and have a bit more, or more in-depth review discussion next week. So, after I finish The Beauty and the Terror, I'm going to start on Thebes by Cartledge. This is a history of the city-state of Thebes in Boeotia. It's not a very long book, so I'm thinking I should probably be able to read it over the weekend. So, finish Beauty and the Terror, start on this, and I should be able to finish it comfortably this weekend. And then next I will read, so starting on Monday, and probably working my way through the rest of the week, will be Dreams of El Dorado and A History of the American West by H.W. Brands. And I'm quite looking forward to getting to this book. I haven't really read much of in the way of the history of the American West, so quite looking forward to reading it. So these are the books I've read or will be reading soon. Hopefully that was enough. Probably that was not enough to get sort of the stack or the pyramid onto the thumbnail, because I've been trying to do that with the book hauls. That I'm really wanting like the pile of books to be the thumbnail, and it never works, or hasn't yet. I guess what I could do is like do it at the beginning and then just slowly add to it. Anyway, so outside of books, I haven't read or haven't watched much in the way of television or movies or anything like that. I've been meaning to, but I haven't gotten around to it. So, three major things have happened this week. One is the election, which I talked a bit about me going to vote on the first tag video I did on Tuesday. And it was a pleasant walk. I mean, pleasant experience voting. I had no trouble. Barely anybody there. And then, of course, the counting, which has been quite a while. On the whole, I mean, it's a disappointing election. I mean, while it looks like as of right now, Biden's probably going to eke out a win, I mean, the Democrats haven't expanded their position in the House. The Republicans are more than likely going to maintain control of the Senate, which means Biden's going to be stymied for at least 2 years. I mean, and the results, obviously, for the presidential election were so close as to raise serious questions about America in general. And then, obviously, in state races, I mean, probably not much has changed, particularly here in Texas, where Democrats did not do nearly, or did not make nearly the impact that they had hoped, or I had hoped either. So pretty much, I think, except for maybe Biden, nobody else I voted for won, except for those races in which there was only one candidate. So I had only one person to vote for. And, yeah, anyway. And those were mostly the local county elections, that there was only one candidate running. So, yeah. Anyway, so as I mentioned in a comment on Britta Voler's video this week, that I survived the election, and not terribly, I'm quite disappointed. Certainly not happy with how things turned out. But anyway, on a more positive note, I guess I should wait and do the most positive thing last. So, on another depressing note, I did not have a NaNoWriMo update video on Wednesday, and that's because NaNoWriMo is dead. I did not want the project I settled on. I haven't really been feeling all that passionate about those projects lately. I don't know if it's what. So I think I'm just going to lay off on NaNoWriMo this year. Maybe sort of go through my ideas and sort of reorganize them and clean them up and try to spark something new. Or probably what I should do is go back to what I was working on in September and just focusing on that for a little bit. Anyway, and I also think I probably shouldn't do like weekly writing videos because they are the hardest videos for me to make. And in a way, I don't know necessarily if, I don't really enjoy making those videos. And anyway, so I think I might hold off on or just not do a weekly writing video unless there's something major or something interesting that happened in my writing, or I'm having an issue that I need to work out, and the best way to do that is to talk to myself on camera. Anyway, so moving on to the actual positive thing that happened this week. My birthday was yesterday, and I have a few non-bookish presents to show, although there are some books over there. None of them are actually for my birthday. I had actually ordered them for myself. And I'll talk about them obviously at the end of the month when I do my book haul. But the first thing is obviously this shirt. I got it from my mom for my birthday. And she usually gets me clothes for my birthday because otherwise I would not actually get clothes and my clothes would be rags. But anyway, I'm more interested in buying books. Anyway, so I quite like this shirt. It's made by Into the AM, and this design is a fractal butterfly. And she also got me a pair of new shoes, which I was pretty much been wearing for a few months now because my old shoes were falling apart. Anyway, and I also have a new bookcase, which my brother and sister-in-law got me as a birthday present, although maybe also part of my birthday. I'm not entirely sure. But anyway, yeah. And I've had my birthday was pretty good. I did have a pain in my foot, which I thought was at first gout, but I'm not entirely sure now. Because usually those attacks last a few days, and this one was pretty much gone after some Tylenol. And it hasn't been back, so I don't know. And my brother did bring over 3 of the 4 children of the apocalypse, so me and my mom managed to see them for twice in 1 week. We watched them Sunday too, and it was glorious. Particularly yesterday, when we just watched War and Death. They were a hoot yesterday, and it was like one of the best visits we've had with them in a while. But it was glorious, and I enjoyed it. Anyway, so that's pretty much all that's happened this week. So next week, I'm hoping to have a Monday video, although I say that now, and I'm not entirely sure what I would have. Like, hopefully there might be something to talk about on Monday. Maybe not, I don't know. On Tuesday, I'm planning at least 3 tag videos, including Josh's burger book tag, the most recent in his line of foodie book tags. I was going to do it yesterday, but a few of the questions kind of tripped me up, and so I want to have another go at them and sort of write down my answers so that I'm not having any awkward pauses during the video, because that happened once and I'm like, ooh, this pause is way too long and awkward. I need to stop. So I'm going to come back at it Tuesday. And then there are 2 other tags I want to do too. So it'll be a 3 tag Tuesday. Wednesday, I don't know. Obviously, I don't think I'm going to be doing a writing video, so I might take that day off. And then Thursday and Friday, Thursday, not sure. And then Friday, obviously, will be weekly reads. And so, yeah. Anyway, BookTube, I need to go watch some upload this and watch some more BookTube and put these books back. So I'm going to sign off for now. Thank you, BookTube. Have a great evening, and please stay safe.